AFC title game. Plus, we have James Harrison. He's here. We'll discuss the latest Antonio Brown news with him. Undisputed coming up next. Jenna, back to you.
All right,
guys
Jenny,
always
thanks.
having a good time.
Ask James how much he's benching these days. Just curious.
Oh,
challenge.
Just chill. I'm up for
Bench
a little
press challenge.
Yeah, I'll
Jenna,
do that.
I'm sure you're close.
Yeah, I'm sure I am, Jenny. Real close.
Oh, my God.
Okay, we just
Let's
made
just keep it going.
Nick a very unhappy man. Time now for Say What?
Every day is a say what.
Last night, Nick Syracuse Orange knocked off the #1 ranked Duke Blue Devils. However, freshman sensation Zion Williamson still dropped 35 points. Jim Boeheim was asked about Zion after the game and say, what?
He throws some stuff up that's hard and it goes in. Really hard. And then when he goes outside and makes those, I mean, that's hard to do. It's hard to defend him. He's a physical specimen. He's like Charles Barkley was, except he shoots better than Charles did, and he's not as fat.
That's Charles in not as heavy.
Oh, no, that's probably as fit as he's been since he was a baby.
As a son, he was the slimmest he ever was.
Yes.
Slimmer than at Auburn, slimmer than with the
father,
Sixers.
he wasn't.
Oh, well done, Jenna Wolf.
You got that?
This is very well done. The Zion Williamson is truly the definition of awe-inspiring. That's what Jim Boeheim was communicating there, awe. Like having watched him for 45 minutes because that game went to overtime, like just nobody has seen this guy. Nobody has seen this athlete playing this sport, and he is, by the end of the season, no matter what R.J. Barrett does, Cam Reddish, any of these other guys, he's going to be the consensus #1.
Imagine when he grows into himself, when his body fully matures, when his strength, his game fully matures.
Man,
Imagine what
I don't know. That body might have fully matured at 15 now. Like I don't think you're getting any bigger.
No, it's not bigger, but I think refined. If we see James Harden right now, he's in better shape. Like, it's not the size, but get to your actual playing weight. When he gets a little more mature, he is going to get stronger, but we don't want his body to get better. Bigger than what he is right now.
He was spectacular last night, but Duke still had to, take this real quick, hold that L.
We get that.
Yeah, we don't need his butt to get no bigger.
Back to Tom Brady and the Patriots now. They beat the Chiefs 43-40 earlier this season, but that was at Gillette. Pats were undefeated this season. Now they're at Arrowhead, where the Chiefs were almost undefeated. They went 7-1 this year. Brady says it will take a great effort to beat them a second time.
Kansas City is a great football team. They really are. We played them at home. They've been having an incredible season. Even the games they've lost, they've been right in them till the end. So anything less than our best, won't make it this week. And it's a tough place to play. We just got to be as mentally and physically prepared, be as mentally and physically tough, and go in there and try to beat a great football team.
All right, CC, let's go back to that first time earlier in the season when the two teams played. How was this Patriots team able to keep pace with the Chiefs in that offense?
Well, surprising how they did it, because at the time, they were two different teams going in two different directions. Chiefs were undefeated, 5-0. Patrick Mahomes taking over the NFL. At that time, the Patriots were 3-2, struggling offensively, but also they didn't have Josh Gordon. They didn't have Edelman. That was Edelman's first game back.
Well, they hadn't had him. You're saying they didn't have him when they were struggling. They had them both in this game.
So they were trying to find continuity in themselves, and they found it. Man, there was no resistance to this Chiefs defense. They drove up and down the field, no penalties, no punts. No punts. And that's surprise. It's hard to do in an NFL game with a couple new players playing. So how did they do it? The red zone defense of the New England. That's the only way they were able to do it, because the Chiefs, outside of Patrick Mahomes making a couple mistakes with the football and a couple mistakes where he missed guys wide open. Kareem Hunt missed him open down the seam once, missed Kelsey in the corner of the end zone once, but their ability to make Kansas City kick field goals compared to scoring touchdowns, that's how they were able to keep pace. They knew that Justin Houston wasn't playing on the outside, so Tom Brady had an unusual amount of time to be able to throw the ball. But they did a lot what they do. They featured their running game, and then late in the game, they got a couple plays from Gronk to be able to secure that win in the game. So they're relying upon their defense, even though people talk about, oh, how can Tom Brady match Patrick Mahomes? Well, he has New England's red zone defense, and that's how he was able to do it in this matchup. But Nick talks about there has been no coach in the NFL that has had more success than Andy Reid. So Tom Tom Brady better be at the top of his game when they travel to Kansas City.
What Steve's talking about is Andy Reid's specific, his offensive numbers, his team's offensive numbers against Belichick. Belichick in his career has coached 342 games with the Pats.
Okay.
Only 7 times has he allowed 40 points.
Wow.
3 of those times have been against Andy Reid's Chiefs. So every other team he's played in his career, it's happened 4 times combined. About 1% of the time, Andy Reid's Chiefs have done it in 3 of 4 games. So they're going to have to duplicate that type of offensive performance because this game is in Arrowhead. And I don't think they can rely on some of the things they were able to take advantage of in Week 6. You mentioned Justin Houston didn't play. I'll tell you who did play. A guy named Josh Shaw, the Chiefs' 4th-string safety, who was in the game because Barry wasn't playing.
Right.
Sorensen wasn't playing. They were down to Josh Shaw. Additionally, in that game, Gronk and Gordon combined for 140 yards receiving. Gordon's not on the team anymore. Gronk has had one big game in the last 10 weeks. And so there were Patty Mahomes he had 2 picks. One that gave the Patriots the ball inside the 5. Another that took points off the board for the Chiefs before the half. Despite all that, and despite a 24-9 deficit at the half, the Chiefs had a 4th quarter lead in this game.
Yes.
The Chiefs still scored 40 points in this game. So I don't think you saw the Patriots defense solving anything with the Chiefs first time around. Their offense, though, they were on schedule, no penalties, no punts. They were stopped on 1 4th down, and that was the only resistance the Chiefs put up.
And quickly before we move on, I think, Patriots fans would love to know, well, is this team capable of putting up that many points when you're relying on running the ball, when you're relying on Sony Michel, which is how they basically won last week with their offense?
I'm sure they have a lot of confidence. When you've seen they face this team a couple of times, I'm sure that they have a lot of confidence in facing them Sunday.
All right, let's get back to the Cowboys now. They finished their season with a loss to the Rams. Overall, a good year for Dallas after starting the year 3-5, winning 10 regular season games, getting Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott their first ever playoff win. But according to Cowboys COO Stephen Jones, this team needs to continue to get better in the future.
We've got to build on this, take the next step next year, and I think we've got a good young team that can certainly have success, but, certainly we weren't good enough to get the job done. You are what you are, and we got eliminated in the divisional round, and we've got to do better than that.
How do they do it, Nick? How does the team get better than they did last year? How do they build on what they finished out?
Well, they're not going to have the ability to get better the way most teams do, which is add an impact player in the first round of the draft. They don't have that pick. I don't believe they're going to be big spenders in free agency because despite the fact they have $50 million in cap space, Amari's getting a new deal. They want to retain DeMarcus Lawrence. At least one of Dak or Zeke are going to get new deals or extensions. There's your $50 million, and then you have to have some money set aside for the guys you are going to draft. So how do the Cowboys get better? This same team next year plays better. Dak takes a step forward. Their left tackle and their right guard, their 2 all-pro offensive linemen who were there this year, play like all-pros, and they get their center back. That is like a major free agent acquisition. They get Travis Frederick back from the syndrome that he missed this year with, but it's not going to be something, oh, man, they draft a blue-chip tight end in the first round. They don't got that pick, and they're not going to be in any of the free agency sweepstakes, not if they want to keep DeMarcus Lawrence.
I think they can build on the success that they've had, and based on the good, young, dynamic players that they have. Defensively first, we know the linebackers. We talk about them all the time. But DeMarcus Lawrence, the defensive end, he was franchised last season. So now you have to be able to pay him. He's the only consistent pass rusher that they have. Continuity on the coaching staff. It hadn't been there. Chris Richards, their defensive coordinator. I like to be able to see this young defense in the second year with him because they made tremendous strides. On the offensive side, you mentioned the offensive line. They need to be able to highlight either in free agency or out there with the few draft picks they have. They need another tight end, and I'd like to add some other speed to that lineup. Dak got better in year number 3. Zeke got better as a wide receiver overall running in year number 3. But you have to be able to enhance their ability by putting these other pieces around them that your stars can continue to be able to dominate. Dak gets better with another wide receiving threat. Also, their down the field passing game in year number 4. It's time for that that to arrive. The second year, Amari Cooper is going to be there. Second year, Michael Gallup is going to be there. So in all areas there, if they improve, they're a better football team when they take the field in 2019.
They have two studs at linebacker in Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, and those guys are bargains because they're still on rookie contracts. Van Der Esch is going to be for the next few years. Quickly, what can they do to help those guys as far as other personnel around?
Somehow they have to get some low-budget space eater, Jenna. Not people to eat like you, but people that eat real food, meat, everything. They need some big guys to take up space so these linebackers so they can run in space. Eat up those blockers so those linebackers you can enhance their ability.
I think that, listen, whatever, either via the draft or the little free agency money they've got, a real tight end with respect to Blake Jarwin, a real tight end that's a threat, that would be my #1 priority in the draft. And C's point, a couple nose guard-esque guys or guys that size that can let Van Der Esch and Smith